I extend a warm welcome to you as well on behalf of the Director of the Learning and Development Unit and the Learning and Development Unit team. I am Jeanette King, Human Resource Officer at the Learning and Development Unit, your moderator for this session. Working behind the scenes is my producer, Ms. Sheila Gazette, Senior Human Resource Officer at the Learning and Development Unit. Sheila will be addressing technical matters. This discussion will be led by Mrs. Sophia Paris and Ms. Janita Waithe, our presenters. Welcome, colleagues. Before I formally introduce Sophia and Janita, I just want to share with you how you will be engaging in this session. Your microphones and cameras are disabled, so you are required to use the chat to post your questions, queries, or comments. In addition, there will be a 15-minute questions and answer segment where you get the opportunity to share those lingering questions and have them answered by either of our presenters, who will respond to you by audio. At the end of the session, you will be invited to share your impressions of the webinar through a feedback questionnaire. A link will be posted in the chat, which will allow you to access that questionnaire. Please do endeavor to complete the information required. Your feedback is valuable as it allows us here at the Learning and Development Unit to improve our webinar productions to enhance your experience in these events. Thank you in advance. And now allow me to formally introduce our presenters. Mrs. Sophia Paris. Sophia is currently acting as Assistant Director of the People Support and Wellness Unit at the Ministry of the Public Service. She is an advocate for promoting good mental health practices. Sophia is a qualified and experienced Senior Community Development Officer, a role she has filled for over 20 years. She possesses a Bachelor of Science degree in social work and a Master's in Labor and Employment Relations, both from the University of the West Indies, Cayfield campus. She is also the holder of a diploma in pastoral studies from the West Indies School of Theology, a pastor and also a member of the Barbados Association of Professional Social Workers. She volunteers with a variety of projects or programs whenever the need arises. Sophia is passionate about coaching, mentoring, and motivating individuals and groups to develop healthy physical, spiritual, and social lives while pursuing their goals in life. She currently believes that leading a balanced life can be accomplished, and that life with God's help is meant to be enjoyed and not just endured. And then we have Janita Waithe. Janita works in the area of clinical and health psychology. She is a graduate of the University of the West Indies and Texas State University. She is currently director at Network Services Center. Janita has provided counseling and employee assistance program support for individuals and organizations. Aside from various workshops and training sessions, Janita has presented at various national and regional retreats and conferences and has led several organizations. Welcome again, Sophia and Janita, and I'm handing over to you.
Thank you, Jeanette, for such a warm welcome. I do feel welcome, and I trust all of you are welcome as well. Well, today we are going to be talking about work-life balance and bridging the gap. You see, the word balance is a word that you can almost say is a household term nowadays. Everybody is seeking balance. They're seeking to feel whole. So today we're going to talk a little about balancing and how you can balance your work life and your personal life. So we have several objectives. The first one is to explain the concept of work-life balance and its importance. Secondly, to recognize indicators of stress and burnout that make maintaining work-life effectiveness difficult. And 3, to identify sustainable strategies to manage personal and organizational responsibilities to reduce burnout and allow for long-term well-being. Understanding balance. Before I go any further, can anyone put in the chat at least your own words of definition, what you think balance is, quickly? I'm going to give you a minute to do that. What, in your own words, you think balance is? Okay, we have in the chat, everything in equal measure. Okay, so I'll take that one for now, and we'll continue. We have getting both work and personal life dealt with effectively. Balance is an even distribution. Yes, an even distribution. And y'all are all on the right page. So, a question. I want to find out from you. What are some of the things you did prior to beginning your work day? So what are some of the things? Think about your day and think about today, or think about your day generally. What are some of the things that you did before you actually got to your workstation or your workplace? So put those things in the chat. What do you do as soon as you got up? Just list one thing that you did. Okay, someone had devotions. Someone cooked, ate breakfast with school-age children, prayer, exercise, packed your lunch, had a nice breakfast, prayer, drop off grants, and the list goes on. Somebody stretched, that's good. Prepare breakfast and lunch. So y'all are normal then, I would say. Because most of us, I'm going to share with you our list, some of the things that we came up with. If we could get the. All right, so you see, devotions, prepare breakfast, prepare and pack lunches, get children ready for school and those things, commute to work, exercise. Some people taking care of their sick people, their sick relatives. Some people, if you are like us, sometimes you get up and you deal with emails from at work and all of that, and so on, and the list goes on and on. Y'all are pretty normal from what I can see. Prayed for a stress-free day. How many of us do that? Sometimes, and that's a good way to start the day. All right, so as you can see, most or all of our lives are filled with so many activities. Even before we get to work, our day is full, our plate is full. So by the time we get to work, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make this day? So let's continue on and see what this balance is all about. So what is balance? Balance is a feeling derived from being whole. First, it is a feeling derived from being whole and complete. Each and every one of us is one whole being. Even though we have different roles and we do different activities, none of us are like pieces of a person. We are all one person. We have different parts, and Janita will address that a little later. We are whole, unique beings. It is a sense of harmony where the different areas of life complement each other. So your work life, your home life, your other organizational lives, your whatever roles, everything shall merge into each other to bring a complement. It should be a complement to each other and not rivalry. And that is what balance is all about. It also encompasses the ability to allocate time and energy. You hear those words? Time and energy to work-related tasks, while also nurturing personal relationships, pursuing hobbies, and tending to one's physical and mental health. Now, some people feel that I don't know, once they get up, it's just all work, and no time for play, no time for personal commitments. I'm not going to be biased here, but it's not necessarily healthy. All of us should have some kind of way that we can, it's not only work, or it's not only your personal and family, it is not only your hobbies, all the three, all the aspects of our life should complement each other. So just take those definitions to heart. So it's encompassing the ability to allocate time, which is very important, and energy to work-related tasks, while also nurturing, that word nurturing, personal relationships, pursuing hobbies, and tending to one's physical and mental health. Now we're going to take a poll now. Now on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being extremely overwhelmed and 1 being contented and balanced, how would you rate the balance between your work life and personal life? I want y'all will see a poll come out on your screen. You just place the number that is applicable to your life now, and let's see how balanced we all feel at this moment. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that activity. Scale from 1 to 10. 10 being extremely overwhelmed, like you may have a heavy workload, and then 1, like if you're really contented, you feel like, hey, I feel pretty balanced. I feel like I've obtained my level of balance. So let's see how we all do. And then we're going to share the results with you. Someone in the chat said they're experiencing an echo.
Does this person have 2 devices on? If they have 2 on, then they probably need to resort to just 1 device.
Okay, we're going to give you another minute to get those polls in.
Okay, I've just ended the poll and I'm now going to share the results.
Wow. Janita, what you think? We have
So most persons seem to be between 5 and 7.
Yes.
So they're not, I don't think anybody put that they're horrible. And nobody put that they're completely contented either. But we all seem to be in that middle area.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are not too bad, thankfully. And that's commendable. So that means that there is room for lots of hope. So thank you for sharing. So we're going to move on. Now, when it comes to balance, I remember in the beginning, some person say that it's equal. But with balance, no one size fits all, and it's different for different people. So what might be balanced to me is not balanced to Janita because of our various personalities or various lifestyle. She might be an extrovert, I might be an introvert, etc. She might be married, I might be single. She might have a lot of volunteer programs, I might have none. So different people see the balance as different. and we all experience balance as different. So I would hint here that you should avoid looking at other people and say, wow, I wish I were like him, or I wish I were like her, because we don't know what they experience. So we should all seek to find our unique balance. The second thing, it is a continuous process throughout our lifetime, often shifting from season to season, and that speaks for itself. It's continuous. Today I might feel balanced, but then there might be something else in my life that I think I can attain, that I may need to balance out, or something that I need to drop or stop doing in order to maintain that balance. Because as you know, in life is a season. There's a season for everything. Today, Janita might be in my life. She might be my best friend today, but 2 years later on, somebody else might be my best friend. So life is about seasons, and then we go through different experience as we go on. So then that's why it's a continuous process. And also, what is very important, balance requires self-awareness. Many of us are so busy with life that we do not really know ourselves. You know, number one, it's always best to know who you are. Who you are, where you come from, and where you want to be is very important. If that is out of sync, balance will be hard to obtain, because you have to know yourself. You have to know your likes. You have to know your dislikes. You have to know what rubs you the wrong way and things like that. You have to know where you want to get in life, so that in order to effectively acquire the balance that you so deserve. So I'm going to turn over to Janita, who is going to talk all about finding that balance.
All right. Good morning once again. So when we think about balance, we have to navigate the fact that as much as we are whole, we have a lot of different parts to us. We have a physical part to us, which might encompass our bodies, our senses, our physical space, our environment. You know, we're thinking about home, we're thinking about our car, we're thinking about our yard, you know, you're thinking about your bills. There's a lot that goes into just the physical aspect of our lives. There's also a soul aspect that encompasses our mind, our thoughts, our emotions, and just balancing our thoughts and emotions is very difficult. You know, trying to navigate how to make decisions and how to listen to our instinct, but also to make, you know, decisions that are based on logic. You know, those things that is difficult to navigate as well. And we have to incorporate as well our spiritual side, the parts of us that speak to our faith, our conscience, the parts of us that speaks to connecting to our inner self or to our God, our higher being. So finding this thing where we kind of pulling all these things together is difficult. It is difficult. More so, it is difficult, and I think everybody can attest, to trying to figure out how to do work, right? Work where you spend more of your waking hours than anywhere else in your life once you haven't retired yet, right? And to do relationships, so you have to navigate talking to people, having relationships with people, whether they be work relationship, personal relationships, how to navigate interacting with people. And you have to navigate caring for yourself, making sure you are okay, making sure you have what you need, what your family needs. And all of this can seem burdensome sometimes. What we want to emphasize, therefore, is that because of this, we can have gaps. We can have gaps in the different areas of our life. If we look at this graph, we realize the ideal might be 10, but in reality will not be 10. When you think about your friends and family, when you think about your money and financing, when you think about personal growth and spirituality, when you think about any of these areas, you might think, man, for some of these areas, I'm doing pretty good, you know? I will tell you, when it comes to sleep, I sleep real good. So if sleep was here, I would get a tick for that. But for another area, I will say, nah, that part, that's not working out. So balance is not necessarily, and we're going to come to this shortly, but balance is figuring out how to have equal amounts of satisfaction in both your personal and professional arenas. Equal amounts of satisfaction. So as was said earlier by Sophia, I might be satisfied with having $50, which that's not possible, but that's an example. I might be satisfied with having $50, but she might not be satisfied with $50. She might need $50,000 to be satisfied. I might be satisfied with spending 10 minutes in with my friends every week or every month even. But for her, satisfaction might look like spending 2 hours. So you have to figure out for yourself what satisfaction looks like for you, what success looks like for you. Not, as she said, comparing, but figuring out what would make me satisfied. And I don't even want to say what would be perfect, because I think perfect is not an attainable goal. But what would be a measure, what would give me a measure of satisfaction and make me feel like I'm having success in this area? Do I need to spend 10 minutes a day doing some physical activity? Do I need to spend some time budgeting at the end of the month? Do I need to spend some time reading up on an area of education and improvement? Okay? There's also that idea of identifying where there are gaps, you know, where there are areas that might be neglected, for instance, in our personal lives, that might be due to having overwhelming work demands. Additionally, we might need to look at areas in our personal lives that might be infringing on our work demands. And let's be honest, if you have, you know, a lot of us have older relatives, and that sometimes can eat into the time that you have to do your work that you need to do. And these are just reality. We're not saying good or bad, but this is just reality. But it's good to be aware of these things. Okay? So we like to say balance, what balance is. Let's think about what balance is not. Balance is not, right? Let's put it differently. For most of us, we have high expectations of where we should be or where we think we should be and what should be in our lives, whether personally, whether professionally. And we tend to feel, remember, when our definition of balance is a feeling, is not a real, you know, it's not something that you measure, it's a feeling. So we tend to feel out of balance when we do not live up to these personal expectations. What does that suggest? That you having a realistic expectation of yourself can help you to feel more balanced. And I'll tell you this, most of us, myself included, have unrealistic expectations. I should be able to have my room clean all the time, laundry done all the time, the yard should be perfect all the time. I should be able to exercise an hour every day and eat perfect every day and have this and feel great and not be sad or depressed and have my family good and nobody quarreling. These are the expectations we have. And social media doesn't help it because everybody posts the perfect thing. So we think we must be perfect. But realistically, we need to manage our expectations. Right? Balance is not, unfortunately, this would be impossible. If you get it done, let me know. But it's not about investing equal amounts of time and energy into the different areas of your life. If that was true, all of us would done work by now. Right? because we only can work for about an hour, and the other 23 hours we invested in the other 23 things that we have going on, which will be swell, but we won't be able to get anything done. So the reality is we can't invest equal amounts of time into everything, but you want to feel that measure of satisfaction in the different areas. And we talk about seasons. So right now I'm studying, and unfortunately that means I have to invest a lot of time in studying, and other things are getting neglected. And that's the reality. Other things get less time and less priority. And I'm okay with that. I'm satisfied with that, because studying is a priority right now and it won't last forever. All right? So these are the things we have to consider. Balance is not burnout. Living a balanced life does not require you to give 100% of yourself 100% of the time. If you do that, you will burn out. The reality is, and you need to, and this thing will give it 150%, which is impossible. That's just crazy talk. You can't give 100% of the time. If you're working on a project, you may push hard, but you're not going to push hard continuously, because you know the project done on Thursday. So you know tomorrow, you're going to push hard today, and it will be done tomorrow. So you will give 80, 90% to that project today. But there's certain things is a steady thing. You're giving a steady amount of energy and effort, but you can't give 100% to everything in your life. And you can't do it all of the time. You're going to feel that you are running out of self. And that's kind of managing those expectations as well. Right? So those are some things to consider. That's strange. Where did that go black? Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Janita. I can identify with everything that you said. And we're going to share some of the signs that you can look for when you recognize that your life is becoming out of balance.
Okay.
And
sorry, Sophia, could I interject here? We have someone with a question. What to do when supervisors do respect your time after work? You want to answer this one now, or wait to the end for the Q&A?
We'll wait to the end. We have a question and answer session at the end. So thanks. Okay, so there are several signs that I'm sure many of us will be able to identify with as I go through them. When you know that, something is not right here and I need to deal with it. Okay, for example, persistent exhaustion. And most of us are employed, and it is almost the norm now when you ask someone, how are you? It's like, I'm so tired. I'm so stressed. That's not a good sign. Lack of motivation. You're just going through the motions. You hear these terms as you do dialogue with people throughout the day. Are you ready here? I just going through the motions. I'm sure if I had to ask some of you to raise your hands, if this is your experience, I would have many hands raised. Difficulty sleeping. Now, this one has especially been experienced by many females who are maybe perimenopausal or going through menopause. But sometimes outside of that, because you are so stressed and headed for burnout, you cannot sleep. Sleeping evades you. I don't know how many of you have experienced that, but it is not a good feeling. You're trying to wind down, but your head is thinking about what's happening at work, what's happening with your parents, what's happening with the children, and you're going on and on what's happening in your relationship, and your brain just going on and on and on, and you cannot get it shut down. That is not a good sign. That it tells you that you need some kind of balance going on there, because If you don't get enough sleep, that can lead to something more chronic or more severe, and that impacts your performance. When you are not sleeping well, you cannot function at work. Then you find that you're irritated. The slightest thing irritates you at house, at home, at church, at your organization, and at work. The slightest thing at work, when you're not getting enough sleep, you become suspicious of everything. You think people are trying to get at you. Sometimes you become paranoid, for example, and the list goes on and on. Feelings of uselessness. Some people don't feel as though they don't have an impact on their work life, or they don't they're not significant. That's not a good feeling to have. The frequent headaches, another example. Feelings of anxiety, that is a word that is being thrown around. People are feeling anxious because they don't know what's going to happen. They're anxious because they feel they might get laid off, or the boss is not pleased with them, or they might lose their husband or their wife. Anxiety is another sign that, something is out of balance. Then the difficulty of focusing. I'm sure some of us experience that as well, and the inability to concentrate. And these are just some of the signs to look out for, that when you're experiencing 2 or more of these, you need to pay attention to your body. You need to pay attention to yourself. When you find that these things are happening and they are happening too frequently, please seek the help either of a counselor for your mental health well-being, or a doctor. Maybe they may be able to give you tips to get better rest, or talk to someone. Don't ever go through these and don't talk to someone. Never go through these things and not get help. That is very, very important. Now, these things are important, yes, and then there are many benefits of a positive work-life balance. You see, when that list that we just went through, when you're not going through these, this is what happens. Better physical and mental health. You have a lower burnout, greater life satisfaction, improve employee performance. I can tell you from experience, when I feel balanced, I can move mountains at work. You do your work and you're smiling, you're singing, but when I'm feeling out of whack, everything feels like a mountain. And I am also sure that many of you can identify with this. When you feel like you're in balance, you are better able to commit. You commit without feeling away. And then you have better workplace relationships, and I dare say better personal relationships. Because all of those things that I went through previously, if you think about it, when they are present in your life, relationships are very strained. When you're not getting sleep, when you're anxious all the time, you're not the best of company. Nobody wants to be around people that are grumpy, and suspicious and miserable, and then so it's a cycle. When you feel like that, your energy feeds off on other people, and then they begin to feel that way, and then it backfires. So it's this cycle. So it's very important to make sure that your life is not out of whack and it is balanced. Yes? So we did go through all of those. And now we're going to look at the cause of being imbalanced. So if you don't work on it, it can become a chronic matter, like I mentioned earlier. And I'm stressing here because sometimes, especially men, and I'm not pointing out on men, blaming men or accusing men, but I find sometimes men figure, well, I'm a man, I can handle it. I'm not sleeping well, but I can handle it. It doesn't make sense complaining. But in reality, the minute you find that you have 2 or 3 of these signs, please work on it. I cannot say it enough. Talk to your employer, talk to your supervisor. He or she should be understanding, like say, well, hey, I'm going through some stuff now, for example, and I don't think I need a break, or you can ask a friend to help. The thing is to ask for help. Don't suffer in silence. Shifting focus from time management to energy management. When you are balanced, instead of looking to see when I can get more energy, I need to take more vitamins, I need to take more tonics, I need this. You tend to focus more now on these things that you are committed to. Now, how can I better manage my time is a question that you will more frequently ask, as opposed to how you're going to manage your energy. And just as vital, when you are having a balanced life, you see that thing called guilt? When you are not living a balanced life, sometimes you feel guilty when you say no. Sometimes you feel guilty when you cannot commit. You might say no, but then you can as well have said yes, because you can go home and say, well, maybe I should have said yes. Maybe I should have said no. But now he got to do that himself, or she now has to do it himself. When you're balanced, you have to be contented with the decision you've made, be firm about it, and say, well, I said no, and then I have to move on. When you're not balanced, you tend to overcommit, to say yes to everything. Will you volunteer? Yes. Can you move this? Yes. Can you move that? And then you find that you are exhausted because there's not enough time to recover. There's not enough time to heal. There's not enough time to rest. So we have to be careful. So I'll go over those 3 points again. The cause of imbalance. If you don't work on it, it can become a chronic matter. If it can shift in focus from time management to energy management, and it can have psychological traps, which is like guilt, overcommitment, or a lack of recovery time. So I hope that you all are taking these things to heart, because they are very important.
All right, so now we're going to look at some of the strategies that we can implement to get ourselves more balanced. And hopefully some of these things that we talk about can answer some questions persons have. Even if they don't, we will get to those. So what I want you to do right now, in the chat, I want you to pause, and I want you to think of one thing that you currently do that helps you and assists you in living more balance at work, or more balance at home. Maybe it's something that you picked up over the years. Maybe it's something that you decided to implement because things were going awry. Something that you currently do that helps you find some state of balance. And I'll share, once we are done, I'll share something that I currently do that I had to adopt. And I did it today, and I'll tell you when I'm done what exactly I did today that helps me to have greater balance. I can't say it's completely balanced. So what is one thing that you incorporate into your life? I want you to write those in the chat. It could be something small. It doesn't have to be major, but something small that helps you feel that sense of balance. So some persons are saying spending quiet, alone time, very, very important. Quiet time is very important, especially now where everything is so noisy. That quiet time helps you to check in with yourself, to look at yourself, to assess yourself, to see how you're doing. Walking, excellent. And that walking allows you quiet time too. So that's good. Physical activity, sitting and reflecting, doing meditation, that's great. Awesome. Setting boundaries, I've gone too far. Setting boundaries for work and personal life, exercise and family life, reading and gardening. I hope those of us who need some tips are writing down some of these.
Yes.
Right? Prayer, very good. Engaging in exercise. I don't know, you mean faster work. Faster, probably faster. Alone time. Do not take homework with me. After hours and weekends are mine. And let the church say amen. I'll come back to that. Meditation. Oh dear. Let me see. I went too far. Yeah, for me, scheduling time for myself on mornings and evening helps. Reading or listening to audiobooks is very good. Exercise and taking an hour or two to watch favorite shows. Try not to work past 8 p.m. So that is a different derivative. So for some of us, we have the luxury of not being able to work past work time, but some of us have to take work home. But having a cutoff is really important. Make sure you have a cutoff. Very good. Prayer, reading, playing with my dogs, very good. Dogs help. It helps a lot to give you that break. Time management, yes, that's going to come up again and again. Quiet time, exercise, and putting your phone on do not disturb. That's a great tip. I have that. My phone does not ring, period. But it really don't ring before a certain time in the morning and after a certain time at night. Very good. Leave my desk. Yes, get up from your desk. Get up from your desk. This is ergonomics 101, actually. You're not supposed to be sitting at your desk past an hour. Every 20 minutes, you're supposed to look away from your computer. Okay? Moving away from desk, taking breaks, having distractions, listening to music. Y'all are good. So I don't need to say nothing else. Play a game, walk and spend time, music, gardening, logging activities with prioritizing tasks, managing my time realistically. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. And all of these things are critical to helping us find that balance. So we've kind of put them under 5 categories. So I see that comment about vacation, and I have been naughty because I'm on vacation right now. So I have been naughty. But anyway, life happens. But we've put it into 5 categories, 5 words to help you to remember. The first one is to connect. What does that mean? We need to be able to connect with others. We are not meant to do this life alone. So we're sometimes we think, I should be able to do all this myself. This is my responsibility. This is my life. I should be able to get things done. And sometimes that leads us into not asking for help. Sophia talked about that. Being able to ask for help, being able to put your hand up and say, yeah, I'm not getting through. I ain't getting through. I need you to help me with this thing. You mind looking at this thing for me? You mind helping me with the children for Friday? You mind if I come and get a plate of food Sunday because I ain't able to cook? Right? And that might seem so small, but those can make a big difference, And it's not only about reaching out to ask for help, it's reaching out to help us others. When I counsel people, a lot of people say, I don't like to ask for help because it's be burdensome. But when I ask persons, but do you want people to come and ask you for help? People be like, yeah, I don't mind helping people. But I said, but you got burdens too. But the reality is, helping people sometimes helps us.
That's right.
It helps us take our mind off of our issues. It helps us take our mind off of our problems. And helping people is satisfying. It makes you feel purposeful. It makes you feel useful. It makes you feel like you're pouring into someone else. So connecting is not only reaching out for help, but it might be helping others. It might be committing to having a family time. I see several people talked about having family time. A+ for that is about having date nights. I know a lot of people don't do that, but you don't got to spend a lot of money. You take out, I recently went to something we just painted, use a canvas, you just paint something, you get a lot of laughs because you realize you can't paint, but that's good, right? It's about scheduling time with your friends. Think of a friend that you haven't connected with in a couple months or even years, you know, give them a call, meet up somewhere, you know. It's about modeling the desired behaviors that you want for others. So if you want persons to connect with you, you need to connect with them. All right. It's about spending time connecting with yourself and connecting with God or your higher being, having some spiritual time. I love the fact that so many persons spent time in quiet reflection, meditation, prayer. I love that. That's wonderful. Especially in this time where, you know, everything is just coming at you. You need those moments of quiet. I love when I'm driving, I don't have my radio on. I don't have anything on. I just have quiet, and it's so wonderful. It's such a wonderful time to just not think or to think. All right, we want to plan ahead. I think this is one of the biggies. Someone talked about prioritizing their different activities. So when we think about prioritizing, we're thinking about planning ahead, looking at what you have. And there's this I cannot remember the name of the author, but I can give the information when I'm done. But it's this concept of looking at what things you have to do and rating them or ranking, better word, characterizing them in terms of, is this urgent? Is this important? Everything that's important is not urgent. And more so, everything that is urgent is not important. So you need to figure out, so this is a time management thing. You need to figure out how to prioritize the things that are urgent and important, things that are important but not urgent, the things that are urgent but not important, and things that are neither. The time that you should be spent most is the things that are important but not urgent. Why? Those are the things you can plan ahead. So you know in 3 months you have something very important to do. You need to plan way out before time how to break up that task so that you get it done. But don't let the urgent things that are not important continue to create crisis in your life, which is what happens a lot. If you're not managing your time well, you end up with a lot of urgent things. Only things that pop up at last minute should be urgent. Things that you know come in. If you know every year in May we do this thing, that should not become something urgent. Unfortunately, because we are not planning ahead and managing our time, a lot of these things become urgent and we become pressured by them. So we have to be careful. I usually tell persons to develop a beginning of the day and an end of the day routine. You want to have things that help bring you into the day and things that kind of help you to wind down at the end of the day. This is really helpful for persons with challenging with sleep as well. The last half an hour of your day, you want to put down your devices. You want to, I don't know, drink a cup of tea, brush your teeth. I don't know, have a routine that you do because that helps trigger the brain into realizing, hey, she's getting ready for sleep. You know, get in your room, the way acclimated where you want. I have my blanket because I get cold. And I have my pillows and, you know, you set it yourself. I have my water next to my bed and I have my, you know, there's things that you do. You want to assign designated activities to designated times. So if you don't like doing emails, choose a point in the day. I had a client that we decided that he would look at emails right before lunch. So lunch would be his reward for getting through his emails because he didn't like emails. So every day before lunch, he would go through his email and he communicated that. So he let people know, hey, you know, I'm probably not going to get to that before mid-morning tomorrow. If it's really urgent, send me a different mode of communication. You want to set aside making sure that your day and week is set up where there's work time and there's not work time. You don't want your work time and your not work time to kind of mesh into each other because then you get confused, you confuse your body, and that's when you're not able to relax properly. And you want to be disciplined about prepping your meals ahead of time, prepping your activities ahead of time. And this is easier said than done because when weekend comes, you just like to lay down. But if you could spend an hour just prepping the meat, you know, prepping the veg, you know, if you could spend a little time just even thinking about what you plan to eat. Because sometimes say no thinking about what you plan to eat. It takes so long. By the time you done think about that, time to eat gone. Right? So these are the things that you want to consider. You want to also consider working smart So streamline your work responsibility. I alluded to that just now. You know, communicating with your seniors, your colleagues, letting people know ahead of time what they can expect. So you have something to do, you look at it, and the reality is we usually underestimate the time it takes to do an activity. So when you think that something will take 10 minutes, it usually takes 50. That's just how our brains are wired. So bear that in mind. You have a thing here, you say, well, this is going to take me 15 minutes. I'm not going to say I'm done in 15 minutes. I'm going to give myself a buffer of time, and I'm going to say, hey, I know you wanted this thing by this time, but I don't foresee my being able to finish it then. This is when I can realistically finish it. I can give you 10 minutes of my time, but after that, I have to get back to something else, because a lot of time is spent, you know, away from your own work, doing other things, and then your work get left behind. So you have to manage people's expectations and say, look, I can give you this, or I can't give you this. You want to be able to talk through your day. You want to be able to manage your work platforms as much as possible. Let people know what they can expect. You want to, you want to be able to switch off. I can't emphasize this enough. You want to set and maintain boundaries. So you want to tell people what they can expect from you. This is work and home. This is now mommy time. Mommy time might not be very low, but mommy needs mommy time if she's going to be a good mommy. And now when during mommy time, you can have your time. This is now granny time, and granny needs to sit down here and drink her cup of tea in peace. Right? This is not my time to go in my garden. Having those boundaries, and it's not that persons are going to respect your boundaries right away, but you need to continuously reinforce them. Right? The roles that you play don't need to all mesh into one another. The things that you do, just keep reinforcing it. Keep communicating. Learn to log off of your devices. Have moments where you're not on your phone. I know phone is relaxing for some of us, but really sometimes we need fresh air, we need sunlight, we need activity, physical activity, mental activity that's not on the phone. Learn how to say no gracefully. I don't actually ever say the word no. I might say things like, that's not going to work for me. I don't foresee myself having enough time to facilitate that. Sometimes I just want to know I want to do that. I don't want to do that at all. But, you know, that might not be the gracious way to do it. But learn how to say no. Learn how to, one of the things that I'll give you one of the tips that I do to maintain balance here. When persons ask me to do something, I never say yes right away. Even if I plan to say yes, I never say yes right away. I always say, let me get back to you. Always. That's my default answer. Let me get back to you. Let me get back to you does a couple things. It gives me time to think of A, am I able to do this? B, am I willing to do this? C, do I have the capacity to do this? And D, do I want to do it? Like, I really want to? So I need to ask myself these questions. And just because I might not be willing to, don't mean that I won't. But I need to know in my mind and in my heart that, A, I am doing this, I'm making this sacrifice for this person or for these people. And sometimes you need to communicate that to people, like, you know, this is a sacrifice for me. Getting up and carrying to the supermarket means that I'm not able to do something else. I'm going to do it because I want to honor you in that way. I want to give you this time, but please know that it's not because I was free, but it's because something else was sacrificed. These are the types of communication and conversations we need to have with people, because sometimes people don't know what you are sacrificing when you do certain things. Yes, I will work on this report up to 6 o'clock this evening, but know that I am sacrificing something else that is important to me to be able to do that. so that people can have greater gratitude for what you are doing, right? So that goes along with developing healthy hobbies and interests, which takes us into taking care of ourselves, scheduling fun, enjoyment, having physical activity, getting fresh air, which I spoke to already, eating well, using your mind differently. Let me speak to that a little bit. What that means is just because you're resting doesn't mean you don't need to use your mind. Rest don't always mean just doing nothing. Sometimes it means doing something different. When I was studying years ago, I taught myself how to knit. And that act of knitting was a different way to use my mind, but it relaxed my mind from doing the things that I was doing before. So using your mind differently can be taking care of yourself. And don't forget to laugh. Have a laugh. When was the last time you had a good belly laugh? That you're laughing and tears coming down your eyes. Making sure that you have those moments is actually research shows us how important laughing and smiling is to bringing balance into our life. I don't think you need to do a lot. I don't think you need to go and not go any gym 3 hours a day and things. Sometimes just a walk up and down your gap, then in the yard. Those little things can make a big difference. A little does go a long way. All right?
No, we have had lots of food for thought. Lots of food for thought. And in summary, determine what balance looks like for you today. And I want you to think about it. What is the one thing you will do that you will start or stop to improve your sense of balance? And I want us to just take 1 minute to think about it. Consider everything that we have shared this morning. There must be at least one thing that you can take away, that you can think of, that you will say, well, from today onward, I'm going to start to do this in order to improve my sense of balance. Or it could be, from today onward, I'm going to stop doing this to improve my sense of balance. So what is it for you today? So I'm going to give you at least 2 to 3 minutes to give some thought. And then I want you to kindly place it in the chat. What is that one thing you're going to start or stop to improve your sense of balance? So you can put your thoughts and your commitments in the chat. Okay, we have setting limits. For example, putting the phone on do not disturb. That's very good. And that in itself sometimes is not easy, because sometimes I feel a lot of us addicted to the phone. So I know that would be a very good step. So we commend you for that. Someone else say, for sure, I will stop taking home so much work. For sure. And that's also a good commitment. You will know your workload. You will know how it impacts on you. And that's a good, so you just have to continue to commit to your commitment. Thank you. Making more time for myself instead of saying yes to everyone. Well, and that is a hard, for me personally, that was something that I had to work with, because I have found that for years I was, very agreeable with everything. Somebody asked me, I just wanted to please people, but I had gotten to a point where I realized, you know what, all it is doing is draining me. So I have learned throughout the years to, like Janita says, just gracefully say no. And you know what? It's very freeing. It's very, very freeing. Yes.
This one here.
Spending more time for myself instead of saying yes to everyone. Yes. And spending personal time, me time. That's another great one. Stop working while I am eating lunch. Many of us are guilty. Yes, guilty of that. Stop working. You know, you're eating and you're looking over the documents and you. Yes, you
don't eat a whole hour, but the time that you're putting the food in your mouth, let's not work. Because you don't eat the whole, unless you eat real slow, you will not eat a whole hour. So that's a really good one.
Yes, it is. And it says, and the next person says, I will assign specific activity to designated time since I find that I have become more focused on energy management instead of practical time management, as well as building beginning and end of day routines. Very good. This person says, do not check work email before work. Now that I am unable to do so, I have realized that I am more calm in the morning. Wow. And that is commendable. And I know that in itself is a big temptation, especially when you have it on your phone, when you got the email on your phone, every minute you check in, and then sometimes you say, where you had to go and look at that email. Yep. The next person says, I will start to set boundaries for myself. I will stop trying to please everyone within and outside my domain. Very good, very good. Next person said, implement an end of day routine. Very good. And not overextending myself and saying no diplomatically or increasing the delegation for certain tasks. That's another important one. Yes. Because sometimes we don't like to delegate. Sometimes we feel that we can handle it on our own, but there are times you do have to delegate your work. Taking breaks from technological devices. Yes, a good one.
Oops. Yeah, just a sec. Yes. Scroll too fast. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, putting boundaries in place and sticking to them. The important thing is sticking to them, because you can put a boundary today and then you break it tomorrow. Yeah. Very good. Start exercising instead of just thinking about doing. I'm guilty. Stop helping to do work that is not mine to do. Ooh. Those are two
big ones.
Big ones. Yeah.
Well, I will give you a little tip that that has helped for me. You have to find a time in the day, obviously, that works. I think that's most people's challenge. But I do these 10-minute YouTube workouts. If I don't have time, as soon as I get out of bed and I do my initial morning, whatever, I do these 10-minute, I find these 10-minute workouts. They're quick. They're even 7-minute ones and 5-minute ones, because it's just about moving your body. And if you can do those little ones, you can work yourself up into more. But if you can't find time for more, do a little, right? Do a little. Very good.
All right. Remove myself from the laptop after 1 hour and find time to relax and return. Great. Learn to say no and mean it. Wonderful. Set firm boundaries after hours. With after work hours. Yes. Learning to say no gracefully and focus on me more. Well said. Setting boundaries and taking more breaks from the computer when at work. Institution pauses for reflection and meditation. Very important. Spend time outdoors, outside of commuting to work and home to enjoy enjoy nature. Very good.
Oopsie.
Wow.
Give me a sec. Go ahead.
Yes. Stepping back, not thinking I have to be in everything at work. You know, that can be hard sometimes, you know? I am currently in a small office, so I eat at my desk. Therefore, I also work while eating. We'll try to stop doing that. Very good. Stop taking home my monthly report to complete it. Yes. These are very good commitments. Taking the designated 1 hour lunch time. Yes. That way you can be refreshed. You can go back to your desk feeling refreshed and ready to go again. not being upset due to not being informed of what is going on in the workplace, and not necessary to know what is going on. Free my mind.
Yeah,
that's true.
I have a saying. Not my monkey, not my circus.
You sound like a real old woman.
So meaning some things are outside of your control. And if they're outside of your control, try not to frustrate yourself with them. If there's something that you can control, you can't control it, and that's the reality.
That's right. Spend time pampering myself. Good. Try to find ways to improve my commute to and from work. Because that could be very stressful. Yes. Giving personal matters the respect and dedication I give to the workplace and work.
I didn't say this before, but I'll say in response to this one, I think the same way that you schedule your obligations for work, and you schedule your appointments, and you schedule some of these other things, I think we need to get in the habit of scheduling, put in our calendars, our relaxation and recreation. You know, actually write down, I'm going to spend 15 minutes, I'm going to spend an hour here doing whatever it is that is recreational and relaxing for you. Put it in your calendar and block it. And say to people, well, you know, I can't do that. That's my time. You know, today I said I did this thing today. Today I had to tell people, no, a previous version of me would have run in here from a 9 o'clock. I had a 9 o'clock function. I have a 12 o'clock function and a 6 o'clock function. So I would have run from the 9 o'clock function, run in this thing, run from this to the 12 o'clock, run from that to 6. And I say, you know what, Janita, you want 100% A, and that's too much B. So I say, everybody, no, I'm not available. If I go to the 12 o'clock function, it'll be in my time, but it's not because I'm going to work, because that's what I would have been going to do. So sometimes scheduling it and letting people know, hey, this is the schedule. People don't need to know, and you don't have to feel guilty for saying, no, I prioritize that time for something else. Yeah.
And the last two, stop eating and working at the same time and take a walk outside during the daytime and become smart personally and professionally, given that I have 2 or more signs listed earlier. This was timely. Thank you. You are so welcome, all of you. And I think the best thing to do too is when you've made your commitment, share your commitment with someone so that they can hold you accountable. Because sometimes we fall down because we don't have the accountability. So if you're going to say that you're going to do X or Y a particular time, tell your partner, tell a friend, and let them hold you accountable. And that way it's easier to be committed to it. I truly enjoy, and as you speak, my commitment is the exercise thing. And I'm going to take a leaf of what Janita shared about the YouTube thing, because the gym and me don't seem to be working out in terms of scheduling. So thank you, Lord. Thank you guys for sharing your responses and your new commitments. So another thing is to recognize indicators of being out of balance. We will have gone through that. These are things that you're going to do, and adopt simple strategies to feel more satisfied in the various areas of life. So all of these are things that we covered today, and I commend you for your new commitment. And at this time, we're going to open the floor for any questions and answers before we wrap up. We have a question earlier.
Okay, I'm going to share that question with you. Just give me a brief moment there. Okay, so we had a question from Paula. What do you do when supervisors do not respect your time after work?
Well, I feel like I sort of answered that, but I'll try to answer again. I think a big part of this is communication and managing people's expectations. for some of us, as I said, we don't have the luxury of not doing work at home. There are certain administrative tasks that I'm not going to stand here a certain thing to do. I go home. I can do them from home. But I do have a cutoff at what point I finish those tasks in the day. So in terms of communicating to persons, look, if you don't want to do work at home, say that. Say, look, I cannot facilitate this at home, especially if you know you have competing priorities and obligations. I know for some persons, you have young children, you have an older relative, and all your time is spent caring for them, or you just want to rest, you know. So letting persons know, okay, I will deal with that first thing in the morning. And that's going to be my priority first thing in the morning. Or you let persons know my cutoff. Yeah, I'm going to try to do as much as I can up to 5 o'clock, to 6 o'clock, up to this point. And after that, I'm not going to be available. Because one of the things that has happened, especially during COVID, persons became really available all of the time. So people were working like 13 or 14-hour days. And that seemed okay when you're like gone, but that's actually unhealthy. You know, working these long days, you wake up at 6 o'clock, you log on, and you're working till 8 o'clock, because you ain't got nothing else to do, you ain't got nowhere to go. But the reality is that's not balanced living. We weren't very balanced during COVID. But what that did is that created this expectation that we're available all the time. You see these devices, I don't think it come up because of the thing of block it. But these devices here make people think we're available 24/7. And that's not true. We're not available 24/7. We have to have time away from our phones. The only time people should be connecting with us past a certain point is for emergencies. So these are sort of the kind of communications we're gonna kind of need to facilitate. And these types of conversations we need to have with our supervisors and with our subordinates as well and our colleagues. I see some other questions. I don't know. Jeanette, do you want me to continue to address them? I see a question here.
Yes, please, Janita, go ahead. You have the time. You have the time.
Okay. How do you manage supervisors who want to make you feel guilty about not staying back after hours due to family commitments, etc.? Janita kind of sort of answered it. I think the main thing is to communicate respectfully that you're unable to do so. And you can only feel guilty if you allow yourself to feel guilty. Nobody can make you feel guilty, but respectfully, just let your supervisor know, well, I come to work early and these are my working hours. I don't mind assisting every now and then, but if it is becoming a habit, staying back, you expect me to stay back after hours. I have other family commitments. I have other responsibilities. So respectfully, just let them know and don't allow yourself to feel guilty. Okay?
The reality is if we continue down that path, you're going to be more inefficient as well. I don't think people realize A plus B equals C. Because if I'm spending all my time working, my effectiveness and my efficiency at doing the job will diminish. You having other life helps you to do your work better. And I think we need to come to that recognition. This is what the research tells us. If you don't have a life outside of work, you're either very unhealthy and something's going to physically happen to you, or you're not going to be able to function in the way that you need to function. All right. Another question here. As a head of department, I'm supposed to be accountable for everything, even when every role has responsibilities and authority, especially at the supervisory level. Why do some persons in the supervisory role not want to take responsibility for the matters under their purview? Woo, that's a whole nother seminar. That's another seminar. How can I say? I would say for that, the reality is some of us don't understand the
level of responsibility.
No, we don't understand what, a lot of us want to be supervisors, but we don't understand what that means. It means as a leader, whether your team succeeds or fails, you are responsible. And that doesn't mean whether you succeed or fail, whether the team succeed or fail, meaning any part of the team that succeeds or fail is your success and failure. So you have to take ownership of whatever happens underneath you, which means that you should have an understanding of what's happening underneath you, that you should be motivating and engaging those beneath you, but you also need to put your hand and say, yeah, that's my bad as well, even if you had nothing to do with it. It's if something happens here at network and it had nothing to do with me, I have to call and take and apologize and take responsibility as a leader. That's the role that I play. And I don't pass the buck, I don't pass the blame, I don't kick the can down the road, or whatever the phrase is. I do that because that's what being in leadership does. Why do some people not want to do that? Because they don't want to look bad. You don't want to look bad, they want to always look good, but leadership is about sharing responsibility. I don't know how else to say that. Anything else you want to add, Sophia?
That's basically it.
Okay. Okay, another comment here.
I remember one day I felt pressure doing my work, and I clearly let my supervisor know that I felt pressured and need to take a walk. She was vexed, but I had to guard my mental health. Was I wrong? Now, that's a very interesting question. You know that there are two. You were not wrong for guarding your mental health, but I guess in a case like this, I don't know what the situation would have been. I don't know what would have been causing the pressure, but things like this, after you have taken your walk and after whatever has been dealt with, like going forward, I think you should just have some kind of communication with your supervisor. Maybe he or she might not have been in a position to understand, because everybody don't understand mental health or mental wellness, and sometimes a little communication goes a long way. And I don't know why she might have been vexed. It might have been a deadline. And when people, they are human beings too. And when people under pressure, like we said earlier, they react or respond in ways that sometimes might be uncalled for. So no, you were not wrong in guarding your mental health. But a little communication goes a long way.
Question, taking a break aligns with rules of ergonomics, but is this covered in any legislation or safety and health at work? I believe it is.
Yeah. We know having the workplace wellness policy.
Yes.
That we're now trying to build out. You know, and
to flesh it out some more. Yes, there is some. I think there is probably not a deep detail about some of the things that I just said. In the private sector, they're probably more fleshed out. I can be honest with you, because really, you're not supposed to be staring at a computer for past a certain amount of time. Like in my office, I have trees in the distance, so I tend to look into the distance because you're supposed to be moving your focal vision and acuity every so often. You're supposed to stand at a certain amount of time. But these things are being fleshed out more and more. So we hope to see that coming to the fore as we continue.
When the job entails dealing with external agencies and the responses or information from those agencies are delayed, and then your deadlines are impacted or there is infringement on other time or matters, how best could this be dealt with? Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing is to just be honest. And it's not like you're looking for blame, but you just be transparent in your activities and the you will say, well, you had all your information ready and ABC, you were awaiting, and then you can state when you received the documentation. That's the most we can say.
Yeah, I think documenting your process.
Yeah.
So like I'm doing a project right now and somebody's on leave, somebody that I need information from. So my supervisor said, make sure you write down that you made contact, but the person was on leave. So that delayed you, documenting your process so that, yes, these deadlines are infringed, but if they're external to you, make sure you write down when you call, how often, just document it. And, you try to communicate as best as possible, but you can't control people. You would like to.
Yeah, you can't. You really
can't control people. Yeah. Okay,
can.
another one here. You mentioned streamlining responsibilities. Employee will set a schedule for his or herself, a supervisor or each, I guess that's head of department, in replying to an external request would at times commit you to impossible deadlines. How to respectfully tell them they should check with subordinates before setting those deadlines. I really think, I think sometimes, I talked about kicking the can down the road just now. Sometimes when people are under pressure, they do tend to make decisions that aren't the best. I think, after it's done once, I think that is room for to sit down and have a conversation. So I realized in the last project, you committed us to doing this thing. And what tends to happen, I can lean in here, is that sometimes a supervisor does not know the extent of what is needed time-wise, energy-wise, material-wise to complete a task. And that's reality. Sometimes management see you doing a task and they assume it can be done in a day. But really, it usually takes 3 days to do it. So sometimes actually you need to educate, when you see us doing this thing, I know it look like magic. Yeah, I do a lot of technology stuff. So people see us putting together these videos and this stuff, and they think it takes 5 minutes. I had to tell somebody, look, for every 10 seconds of video editing I do is about an hour work. And the person was like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's an hour of complete work, just dedicated work to edit the song, to edit the video, to do the coloring, to do the adjustment. It takes a lot of time. So letting persons know, hey, if it has happened in the future, just know that this actually takes this amount of time. So you have to manage not only your expectations, but these external requests. You have to manage their expectations. I don't like to give specific deadlines. I like to say within a week, within a couple days, to give yourself a buffer and just be honest. Know that you telling me that you want this Monday, but I don't foresee it being done by Monday. I can probably get it done by Wednesday, and I will try my hardest, but this is the reality. That we are human, and we're here 24/7, so it might not work out for you, and that's it. And people have to live with that.
And like you said, respectfully tell them this.
Yeah.
Respect is the main.
Yeah, you don't have to be contentious or take offense or even take it personally. Because sometimes we take these things personally, but it's not personal, it's work. Right? So yeah. Anything else?
Okay, I think we have exhausted the time now for the Q&A. So I am going to respectfully allow you, Sophia, Janita, to say any parting words that you have for our attending colleagues.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, and it was a pleasure of ours. I will speak for myself. Janita will speak for herself. I just want to say thank you, and I trust that whatever we shared, even though obviously because of time we can't go into every iota thing, but we just want to say thank you for joining us, and I trust that you were able to gain something that you can take away and apply to your life. So thank you once again.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments, and I just hope there's one little thing that you can take into your day that will make some little difference. That's kind of all we can do. Sometimes we don't gotta do a lot, as I say.
Simple.
A little thing can make a big difference. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, and there we have it. We have come to the end of this very thought and action-provoking presentation, I believe. Sophia, Janita, on behalf of the Learning and Development Unit, I thank you for taking time out from your very busy schedule and holiday, a sentiment that was shared by Roseanne earlier in the chat. So I thank you again for sharing these insights and strategies with us for ways of balancing or work life, bridging the gap. And also extend this thank you to your respective organizations, Sophia and Janita, for agreeing to this collaboration. And then, indeed, interesting to realize how important it is for us to plan ahead, even in your daily personal commitments that we may take for granted while planning and preparing meals and engaging in me time, and how critical this me time is towards managing other commitments in our lives. Colleagues, thank you again for joining us and sharing your questions and your experiences and your comments, which I'm certain were of value to your fellow participants, and I extend these this appreciation and gratitude on behalf of the director and the team at LDU. Thank you as well, my producer Sheila, for your assistance. Colleagues, let's strive to bridge that gap, which will translate into improved mental health and overall well being. And I do want to wish you a safe and productive remainder of the day. Thank you.